The correct time has nothing to do with what we're actually doing. I think it is actually
we
after
should
8 o'clock.
start at whiskey
survive.
o'clock.
That should be time.
Regardless, we're starting then is now and now is then. So
now is whiskey o'clock. There you go.
Now is whiskey o'clock. Hey, what's up, everybody?
Whiskey
Welcome to another Monday night with Keystroke Medium. We are live. I am Josh Hayes here with Chuck Manley and Scott Moon. Tonight, we are talking about ad copy, good, bad, ugly. What makes a reader buy a book just based on the description? We're going to delve into that a little bit. Right or wrong, we're going to have some fun with it. We're going to talk about some examples that we liked and that we didn't like. So yeah, we're going to start off again this week like we did last week to just kind of chit chat and let people filter in as they might. And who wants to go first? I know Scott wanted to go last week.
We're going to talk about kind of what we're doing what we've doing or done or had done to us this week.
I want to hear about Josh's home improvement.
I think that's
of course you would.
Definite place to start. Too bad you can't pick your computer up and go show us.
No, I'm not going to do that. I'm done with that room right now. I'm done with that whole side of the house. I don't want to look at it. I don't want to.
Manual labor.
No, I've got mud dust in my eyes. I've got it under my finger. I've got it everywhere. I had to take 3 showers today. I'm done. I'm never mudding and drywalling again, ever. So that was my weekend in a nutshell. I was remodeling the old dungeon that I used to be in.
Did you do the wiring too?
Electrical, framing.
About the floors. You have to do the floors.
Did the floors too, Scott? I did.
I like to bring up these painful subjects.
Yeah. And couldn't walk for about a day and a half, so that was nice. And so yeah, it looks really good.
It sounds like a pretty cheap project, though. I mean, was there anything you had to put into the room that you're working, like, because you can't just be an empty room. You got to put a desk in there or something.
Right.
Or?
Oh well, you got to get a desk, and you got to get a futon, and then you got to get a TV to mount on the wall, and then you have to get the mount to mount the TV on the wall, and then you've got to have 2 boxes worth of a desk that, of course, yours truly gets to put together. I
think it sounds like a delightful place, and I would like to have. You can come
do
a
lovely office.
You can come do my office when you're done with that one.
There are really a lot of times, not a whole lot of times, but several times where I wish that we could do a show where you're here again, and then I could elbow you in the face. Because it does me no good to I want to elbow Scott right in the face.
I'm tweeting you elbows to the face.
That's awesome.
Yes, so I have done a lot of remodeling. However, fun fact, the last 2 days have been the most productive writing days I've had in a month. Yesterday I got 2,500 words, and today I got 1,600. And so...
Which is weird.
Well done,
very,
sir.
very
well
weird.
Done.
Yeah. Maybe I'll do.
You've been saving up, I mean,
yeah,
because you were taking care of the kids. You kind of had to
write any in July.
Right.
So the Keystroke Median tip of the week: key to writing success is hard manual labor. Will boost your word count.
Yes, that's right. And mutters dust. And apparently it goes everywhere. I vacuums in there. It didn't help. I do want to throw out some really cool things that happened to me this a while ago. Brandon Sanderson ran an message on his Facebook about having signed books. And so I looked on his website and I got signed books, and I want to show you guys because I think they're pretty sweet. So this one is a novella.
Turn it sideways. I want to see how thick it is. How big is it? It looks like a normal book.
It's
30,000 about.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I think it's 2 novellas. Yeah, it's 2 novellas.
Oh, okay.
Ooh, I didn't even notice that because it's a novella on one side, but then you flip it over and it's another novella on the other
that
side.
Was really slick the way you flipped that book.
Impressive.
I didn't even. It's only signed on one side. So there we go. Brandon Sanderson for Josh, right up there. So that's pretty cool. The really, really super cool thing is
drum roll
that I got the 13th and 14th books in the Wheel of Time. These are not novellas. Those are
kind of thick.
Epic
large type.
And the really super cool thing about this is that not only does it say for Josh here, and not only is it signed by Brandon Sanderson here, it's also signed by Robert Jordan, the late Robert Jordan here.
That's amazing.
And that is freak sweet. And both of them are the same way. Robert Jordan, Brandon Sanderson signatures. Really, really cool.
Man,
So that's
stuff.
You're gonna have to put up a new shelf to hold those. They're so big.
Dude, I know, man. It's so yeah, everybody knows I'm a Sanderson fanboy, so that's my fanboy stuff today.
We should have a section in our show just for fanboy stuff.
I need to make another sign and just have a sign up there.
You should get it tattooed on your neck.
This is gonna be my next tattoo. I'm gonna get this tattoo. I'm gonna do it in Vegas.
I'm gonna get one too, but I'm not sure when or where. My face.
Neck. It's got to be the neck, man.
Scott's gonna get a tramp stamp.
Yeah. You laugh. I have to put it next to the other one.
Right on top. Like he's got two tramp stamps.
Just layer them on top of the other. It's okay.
He's at the swimming pool and I'm like, oh, look at that guy. He's got a dad bod and a tramp stamp.
Oh.
I'm gonna kill it at the pool next year. I don't know if I have anything really that can beat any of that stuff. So maybe Chuck should go and tell us something awesome.
Oh my gosh. Well, at the end of last week, I did an interview with Ella Barnard. I think you guys have already done.
She's super awesome.
She is very awesome for the Author Like a Boss podcast. Everybody check that out. She is just full of energy.
She is.
She is a hoot. But we had a lot of fun with that. I was supposed to do one last night, and I got stood up. Still waiting to see what the hell happened with that. Writing-wise, I'm working frustratingly on Brace Cordova 3 and outlining Child of Magic, the second Pikmin Files book, and made all the notes I need to get started on the short story for the anthology.
Yay!
So, and also did some minor stuff around the house for the wife, hung a chandelier and a few other things. No big deal.
Oh, did you do drywall and frame?
No, I said minor, Josh. I said minor. It's not a fucking contest, all right?
My home remodel transformation is better than your home model retransformation.
Right. My drywall is bigger than your drywall.
Yeah, exactly the same.
But aside from that, yeah, I'm having a lot of trouble with Brace Cordova 3, and it's kind of frustrating me. But I've been wrestling with it for a while now. So.
What do you think the trouble is?
I don't know. I don't want to write the book. I don't know why. I'm proud of the other two books. I like the characters well enough, but every time it feels like pulling teeth. Every time I sit down, in 40 years of writing, I've never had this much trouble on a project ever. And I don't know what the problem is. I mean, I know where the story's going. I kind of like where it's going. I mean, I don't know.
Are you having a lot of, you want to rather do,
Master
your urban fantasy?
Maybe. I mean, like today when I sat down to work on it, I would have rather given myself a root canal with a spork. I mean, it was like that. And yeah, the idea of working on something else appeals, but I mean, I got people, there are people who want to read this book, and I don't want to just bang out some piece of crap just to put out there. So I just, it's a mindset thing. I'm just going to have to work through it and figure out what the hell.
You're having a little bit of what I went through in July.
Yeah, it sounds like this. Yeah, it does. It sounds very similar. So
which is a third book. I had a problem with my third book in my Starship Marine Corps series. Because I'd been away from it for a while, and my problem was I was afraid I was going to mess it up because I felt like I lost touch with the first two books. That's why I think a lot of people like Nathan Heisted and some of those guys talk about writing a whole series and doing the whole release.
I think
it's good because you get all the story out at once, and it doesn't go like Stephen King says in his book on writing. If you take too long to write it, it could die. Your
Dies on the
enthusiasm,
vine. Yeah.
enthusiasm starts.
I'm wondering if that occurred to me, and I wondered if I didn't screw up bad by stopping work on that to write Master of Hounds, and now trying to get back into this. I should have just put Master of Hounds on the back burner and finished this one before moving on to something new. I don't know.
It's a possibility, but sometimes I almost believe that in some instances, stories are a little bit organic, and it's just going to sound so frou-frou and stuff. So I'll go hug some trees after this, but I've written stories where I had this resistance. Well, when I finally wrote on it, I came up with something that I wouldn't have come up with otherwise. Just simply because I was writing at a different time of the year or after some other thing happened in my life. And maybe the story is waiting for something. I don't know.
I totally hear what you're saying. And I have had that experience before where I had to put stuff aside and then it would just click one day.
The very non-practical, not very helpful advice to all writers everywhere. Right. So, maybe it'll come to you someday. Don't worry about it.
It's an artistic pursuit, and sometimes that shit isn't about just logic and discipline. Sometimes it comes from someplace deeper. It's instinctual.
Well, and I tell you that while I was writing TN3, when I got in that big slump, the reason I got out of it is because I realized I could move on to a different part of the book instead of being stuck on the book that I was at that I didn't like. And because when I write the Terra Nova books, and pretty much when I write anything now, I do by character arc. So I write the whole character arc in one sitting, relatively speaking. And so I got stuck on my Carson character arc about halfway through and did not like where it was at and got stuck there for several days trying to figure it out and hammer it out. And I couldn't do it. So finally, probably after about a week and a half, I moved on to a completely different character arc and just smashed it. Didn't do and it was slow going because it was a brand new character to the series, so I had to basically create him from whole cloth, and just that slowed down the process a little bit. But jumping to a different plot arc and just working on that while still making forward progress helped out a little bit. And then I took some of Scott's advice, which I know is odd to say.
Who would do that? That's crazy.
That's crazy talk.
You're desperate when you get to that. You dig down that.
I didn't take it to like the Scott, like full Scott level, but like a little.
There's only one beaver involved.
Only one beaver
and a coyote now, because now I also like coyotes.
It was one beaver and half a coyote. And so what I did was I started working. Instead of staring at the screen for 45 minutes trying to figure out what I wanted to put down for Terra Nova, if my mind was on, say, like Edge of Valor, I'd write 500 words on Edge of Valor and then come back and do 1,000 on Terra Nova, and that worked out very well.
Very well. To try that. That's actually, I may have to try that. That's better than what I've been doing, which is a whole lot of this.
I've done a version.
Like yesterday, I did 2,500 words, but I only did it after doing like 600 words on Valor. And this morning I did the same thing. I did like 300 or 400 or 500 words on Valor, and then hopped over, did 1,200 words on Terra Nova. So I don't know if it was like Valor, I mean, is not due for months, but just kind of sitting down and warming up on something that's not due, then I can hop back over and smash out words that maybe I would have just sat there and looked at a blank screen for a while.
Like a warm up exercise or something. I did this. I had good results doing where I wrote my basically my assignment or my deadline piece for a while. And if I hit a certain word count, then I could write whatever I want. So the way that was working for me is I would write, whatever I had coming up that was due. And then the rest of it, like when I left here, then anything else, any other writing time I could find throughout the day, I could do whatever I want. And that was surprisingly successful for me too, because I really wanted to write this new story, which I've heard had to shelve for a new deadline, but I love it. So good deal.
Cool. That's good advice, guys. Thanks. Maybe I'm gonna try and put that into action tomorrow and see if it doesn't help me some.
All right, Scott, you could go every other word, like one word on Brace Cordova and one word.
I've got my enormous monitor. I could just have it open on either side.
Go back and forth. Yeah.
Well, speaking of monitors, I think I blew one. I think I killed one of my monitors. So now
Oh
I only have
God,
one monitor, and it's like freaking me out right now.
that's
I
the
only have
saddest. That's the saddest thing I've
my
ever
main
heard.
one. Yeah, I'm
It's
very
the,
sad.
it's the chalk dust. It got in
Yeah.
there and fucked everything up.
I would not be surprised at all. But you know what that means is now
New
I have to
monitor.
go buy a 50-inch 4K
You
monitor
have
to.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
I
Why?
mean,
Why is there any question? I
you
mean,
can write that off, right?
yeah,
Yes, you can.
absolutely.
You can.
It's,
So
it's business related. It's like all this stuff back here. It's all like show prop, so it's
It's
business related.
creative. It's creative
bobbleheads.
research.
Yeah.
So my week, while I didn't have to do any super intensive labor, I did have quite a little bit of battle with my yard where I just every time I mow my yard, I'm like, I'm going to kill everything in the yard and start over. But then that's also a lot of work. But a lot of home projects for me. But I did manage to accidentally completely wipe my phone while putting a new case on it. I get my case done. I look at it. I'm like, everything is on it. It completely uninstall it, reinstall everything. So that was fun. Got some decent writing done. I got some writing revision stuff based on the third round for Valar's Hammers from Richard Fox. And he gave me some new story beats to work on. And that actually has been going really well. I really like the new way that's going. So that was fun. Got those things going. And then I like to read some nonfiction and some marketing stuff because I'm trying to figure it out. So I started reading a book called The Adweek Copywriter's Guide or something. And I found it by accident. So what happens is my kids we don't have TV anymore. So I come home and the first thing my kids ask me is, hey, can I watch the phone? So I give them my phone. And then, hey, can I watch the tablet? So I give them my tablet. And so pretty soon I have nothing to read on while I eat my snack or whatever. So I picked up this Kindle Fire I have that's kind of neglected and I had to charge it. When I finally got it to open, there's a book on it, a sample for the Adweek Copywriter's Guide. And I was like, whatever, I guess I'll read some of that. And I really liked it. And I started getting more into that. So I went and bought the rest of the book. And I know why I got a sample of it because it's like a $14 ebook, which I don't normally buy. But so it's some good things. Got me thinking about copywriting. I felt like I had some good luck. And I started a habit today of writing for a dedicated amount of time just on copywriting. Brian Cohen in one of his free webinars recently said that good copywriters practice. And so I worked on a blurb for a Facebook ad for a series that's not really selling that well for me, my Dragon Badge series. And I worked on it for 27 minutes. And then I did some little Facebooky things to try and start that ad. I also read Michael Cooper's Help My Facebook Ads Suck again this week. And I
need to read Michael Cooper one. I don't see. My problem is I don't do any ads. I mean, I do blurbs, but I don't do ads. So I don't know, like, this might be getting into the subject a little bit, but
we can do that.
Blurbs, yeah. blurbs and ads crazy. Are they the same thing or?
Yeah. Well,
like, when I think about
descriptions.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Technically, we use blurbs incorrectly, and a lot of people probably know this. But a blurb technically is like with Stephen King wrote, "I couldn't put down this book by Josh Hayes, the best writer ever written," and then you put that on your thing. That's a blurb. Right. What we call blurbs most of the time in the indie community, at least people I hang out and talk to, we're really talking about a book description. And you have like a back of the book description, you have a ebook page description, landing site description, and you maybe have inside the book description. There's different ones, and they kind of serve different purposes. Is what I've been told or read.
So like I like I said, I don't do a whole lot of ad copy per se, but I did just work on a blurb, and maybe we can talk about my blurb a little bit, just for the sake of opening us up to talk about one, and we can dissect it and like share how horrible it is.
If we all just read one of our blurbs and
I know it is. That's why I brought it up.
Well,
because you're a genius.
Almost like you knew what you were doing.
Because I'm a freaking genius. That's why.
You know, 20-star genius. Do you have a coyote in your office? Because that would make me feel like you're more smart.
Because you landed us on a iron plate of whatever it was.
From
Armageddon.
Yeah, I can't do it either.
I can't because you landed us on a goddamn iron plate. Yeah. That's not why I'm a genius.
Yes, space dementia. That was my favorite part.
Get off the nuclear warhead.
Nice. Nice. So let's show your. We before the show started, this last thing, and we'll get to your thing, Josh. Is,
no, you're good. I'm still waiting on Word to load anyway.
Okay. So when we were getting prepared for this, because none of us are copywriting experts, but we're all definitely striving to become so, we pulled up some books just at random. And one of the things I do when I'm writing copy for my stuff, because I took a Brian Cohen course, which is a great course. And he has free webinars and stuff. But what I do a lot of times is when I check my blurbs, I will pull up one of his blurbs, and then I will compare the basic structure and flow and stuff to it. And so we might talk about one of his. We pick one at random,
Sure.
and some other blurbs. But first, let's talk about Josh's if Word's loading up yet.
Okay, I got it. I've got it pulled up. So this is the blurb for Edge of Valor.
Ooh.
Or a description, whichever one you want to say. All right. Here we go. Their mission failed. His is just beginning. Only 3 Marines returned from the mission. Their attempt to extricate a group of Alliance diplomats on the border world of Stonemire ended in disaster and cost the lives of almost their entire platoon. When news of civilian casualties and conflicting reports about the Marines' actions while planetside reach the Alliance news streams, the demand for answers climb. Fleet intelligence calls in Jackson Fisher to discover the truth, but as his interviews progress, one thing becomes more and more certain. The survivors of the Stonemire disaster are lying. As Fisher unravels the truth, he begins to realize there is much more going on than a simple extraction mission, and the questions he's asking might be best left unanswered. Edge of Valor is a military science fiction novel filled with action, mystery, and well-crafted characters that will put the reader into a world of war, conspiracy, and betrayal. A perfect blend of Black Hawk Down and Courage Under Fire that set in a well-developed universe that readers of David Weber's Honorverse will love. And that's my blurb.
Love when there's doom.
When there's doom.
I just pulled up the live chat, so.
Yeah, I didn't. I mean, that all sounded legit to me, and I like how you tied it into a popular series at the end. I mean, that.
And I think that would be basically a plot-based book description.
Yeah.
If you're, because in Michael Cooper's book, it talks a little bit about plot-based versus character-based book descriptions. And that one very much gives you a sense of the story. You know what to expect. You know the genre. There's a good punchy tagline. So it's just a matter of, like in the web. If Cohen had a free webinar and he talked about just writing the same blurb over and over, like write the blurb like 30, 40 times.
Yeah.
And you come up with all kinds of change words around and stuff like that. But if you got time for that and you're really dedicated to improving your copywriting, that'd probably be the way to do it. I mean, it makes sense, right?
I mean, just rework it.
The thing that I've heard about blurbs, and that's what I tried to kind of put into this one, is it's okay to kind of give away like the first 25% of your book, right? Like that's the first 25% is not a spoiler. And so if you go into and you read a book description, you can pretty much kind of describe, because after the first 25%, that's, you know, generally maybe your inciting incident is happening in that place. So you can use that as kind of a pull to your story. And for Edge of Valor, it's kind of different because the mission has failed before the book starts, but then as the book progresses, you learn how it fails. And so like some people don't want to put anything in the blurb at all. So when you're reading it, it's just like, oh, this guy woke up and he went and had a cup of coffee and then he had a bad day. And I'm like, okay, but I need a little bit more. And so the common stuff that I've heard is if you put in the stuff that's, around the 25% mark, if you've got some twists that happen, then it's okay to kind of throw that stuff in there or kind of allude to that stuff, as long as you're not kind of like I've got a 1.5-page summary here that goes on to summarize the book. As long as it's not a summary of your book, that's not the blurb's mission, right? So
I think the blurb's mission really is to give just enough to intrigue.
Right.
If you're talking about, go ahead.
Really, I think the goal of the blurb, the goal of the cover is to get you to the blurb. The goal of the blurb is to get you to the look inside. The look inside is to get them to the sell button or buy button.
Yep.
That's kind of the chain of events that I've always pictured.
Right.
Yep.
And I've bought books following that chain lots of times. So, but then copywriting, basically the definition of copywriting, if we're going to make a slight distinction between book description and copywriting is influence somebody to do something. In our case, we want to influence them to buy the book. And I think that's really important with copywriting is first you have to have a good product you believe in. Because I never wanted to go into sales when I was growing up. That's kind of why I went into public service, because I don't want to sell people stuff they don't need. It's kind of abhorrent to me. But if you really love your book and you believe in your book or whoever's book you're trying to write for, then you're going to do better. And so you got to get their attention and get them hooked in. And I'm always big on emotion. I think all decisions are emotionally based. You might talk about them logically, but when you push the trigger or push the button, it's like, how bad do I want this? Am I going to be happier with this product or without this product? And things like that. So you get a hook that gets somebody a visceral response. Punch them in the gut, like Chuck, or not Chuck, what was his name? Anyway, move on.
So I found a couple examples just in the brief time we spent in the pre-show talking about blurbs and book descriptions and whatnot. The one I thought was interesting is that, granted, some things don't need really good blurbs, like anything sold by George R. R. Martin probably doesn't need a blurb at all. People just buy it for his name. Because I went and looked at the Game of Thrones blurb, and it's not really an enticing blurb. Like, you read it and you're like, oh yeah, that's definitely Game of Thrones. You read it and like, yep, that's Game of Thrones. You're absolutely right. But if you had gone in there to buy a book, you don't know who Martin is and you're just reading book descriptions, you might not buy it off that book description because it's not really, doesn't really pull you in. But like, so I found one by Jay Allen on his Blood on the Stars book, and it's very short. It's very compact. It's the war is over, but the struggle continues. Tyler Barron and his spacers has set out into the unknown, deep into the Badlands, seeking to discover the Empire's old tech and secrets of its tortured history before Gaston Villanueva and the resurgent Union can beat them to it. The White Fleet is a vast force, powerful and crewed by the toughest veterans from the war. Baron and his people know the future of the Confederation, even its survival, depend on recovering the scientific secrets of the Empire before the enemy can do the same. Baron and his people push far beyond the Confederation's border to space untraveled since the Cataclysm, and they are seeking the past, its secrets, its knowledge, but they will find a present that they never expected, a new and terrible danger, one that threatens not only the White Fleet, but the Confederation itself and the entire Rim. So that's a pretty good, I mean, in my opinion, it's a really good description of the book. It sets up, like, what it does a couple things. It sets up what the book is about. You know what's going to happen. It's basically a treasure search, right? Like a treasure hunt. It sets up the stakes that this thing could destroy all of civilization, and it establishes the good guys and the bad guys, right? So, like, it does all that stuff in 3 short paragraphs, and obviously this is book 7 of an 8-book series. So, so far it's an 8-book series, but it's book 7 of a series. So a lot of people that are buying this book might not buy it based on just the description. But if you go into it and you read the description, you're like, oh, yeah, that's really cool. Maybe I need to go back and see what book 1's all about, and then go from there. but I felt like that was a really good description.
Okay, that brings up something really awesome. So that is another definitely a plot-based, story-based, structured blurb. So we talked about a character-based description. A good one is "Bring the Thunder," Werewolves Book One, by Jonathan Yanez and Justin Sloan. And I'm guessing, and I wish I had time to check this before we did the show. I'm guessing that was written by Jennifer Yanez. I always say the name.
If it wasn't, it was probably highly influenced by.
Yeah, because it's a really good cover. So I'll read it, and this is more character-based. Tagline or hook: because the universe can't save itself. When others run from danger, Riot run towards it. When others throw up, she throws down. And when there's a brawl in a bar, well, she's probably the one who caused it. And then it goes on from there. But that is very character-based. And, it gets into some stuff about the plot after that. But it immediately puts you in the character. I like that blurb a lot. I also like the book cover, and I think the blurb or description fits the book cover. And we were talking about this before.
I wanna jump ahead in that one a little bit. It's about the third little section. I don't want to call it a paragraph. It's really just a long sentence, but it says, backed by her ride or die crew, the only guy she trusts on a mission such as this, and a scientist because, well, science. Riot blasts off in a spaceship headed to distant galaxies, the fate of the planet resting on her shoulders. That little because, well, science. That putting the voice of the narrative into the blurb, I think, is a really important thing to do too, because if you've got a really strong voice in your book and you can basically have that voice in the narrative, or excuse me, in the description, that's really going to do a lot to pull people into that look inside bit and hook them into hitting the buy button.
It's not grammatically correct.
No, but that's the character, that's the voice.
Yeah, I love it.
We're not selling vacuum cleaners here. We're selling creative writing. So you want to play with the language a little bit, not so much that you lose the reader, but enough that they get a taste of your voice and the way you put the words together and everything. I think that's a really, really nice touch in this one. Another
technical thing that I've read about this and books in general, especially with descriptions, is the use of white space. Because these are all very short sentences, and the idea of having the white space is it pulls your eyes down so you get to the end and you get to and I'm going to go ahead and just talk about this, Brian Cohen's structures and review them. If I can find my list here. Okay. And I'll give him credit for them because these are his, but I'm sure a lot of people use it. So he talks about you have a tagline, a synopsis, a selling paragraph, and a call to action. So you got an obvious tagline: because the universe can't save itself, and it's bold. You got the synopsis, tells a little bit about the story. Your call to action: if you like Whiplash and the action of the Ember War and Righteous, well, We Are Legion, We Are Bob, then you'll be obsessed with the Werewolf series. Get your copy to blast off to nonstop fun and war games. I think the call to action is really important. And I think a lot of us as writers and artists, we kind of shy at that. It's like, it sounds like I'm trying to sell them something.
Well, yeah.
We are trying to get them to buy to read, at least read the book. So one thing that works really great to get what you want from people is to ask nicely. I prefer to ask nicely, but
I always in my head, I always equate writers who haven't gotten used to the business side of this stuff. And I'll admit, I'm still one of them, but it's almost like every time you approach the marketing, it's like you're a teenager trying to ask someone out on your first date.
Right.
It's like
they'll feel the vibe.
You kind of work around it, and you kind of just get in and trying to make it their idea a little bit, instead of just coming right out and saying, "Hey, you want to go out?" I mean, exactly.
And you're right. You give him a cool look. Now, Rick brings up a good point in the chat. Says his problem, he doesn't respond to that at all. I never have made a decision based on the call to action, but now I look at them now, they feel incomplete without something. So that's not what sells me, but I think that it's been tested enough by enough people who write copy ed for a living I think the call to action doesn't have to be buy my book. The call to action can be something like get your, whatever on with science fiction today, and just leave it more vague.
Yeah.
You don't have to, compromise your ideals about not selling and stuff like that. But
I always try to tie mine in a little bit to like something about the book. Like with the Reyes Cordova books, I think I did something like get yours and join the crew today, or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
I think that
what was the one you did
makes
with the
it less
one, because I really like that one.
What's that?
What was the one you did with the hounds? Something about oh man, what was it? I really liked.
I don't know. Actually, I got to give credit to Nathan for that one. He gave me the idea. It was. I'm
reading it right now.
Hang on, I'll pull it up.
Get yours now and keep the hounds at bay.
Keep the hounds at bay. I really thought that was a really cool.
That's a great call to action. I love it.
Yeah, and like my first Awakened book, it's get a copy now and find out what it means to be awakened.
Yeah, see, and that's really
something
cool.
that ties back to the book.
Absolutely, I like that a lot. Speaking of books, let's talk about our show sponsor, which is not a book this week, but it's a book service. Ballistic Book Services, run by our very good friend Steve Bollier. He does editing, he does formatting, he does book covers. He's a phenomenal guy to work with. He's a really good friend of the show. If you're in the market at all, whether it's a good formatter or an edit, whether it's a good developmental edit or copy edit, he does both. He does a really good job. He usually does really good notes. I had a short story in one of his, I think it was his first anthology he did, which was It's a Bird, It's a Plane. I wrote a short story for him, and he sent me some really good notes, made the story a lot better. And you could just look at his Facebook group or Facebook page. Does some really, really good work for covers, whether it's sci-fi or weird Western or fantasy. Does really good work. So
he did album covers at one time, didn't he?
Yeah, he did album covers. Yeah. He did our logo. He did our new our redesigned KSM logo. Mm-hmm. And so if you need any of those services and you're in the market for them, definitely please check him out and consider using him. We always like to support fans of the show and friends of the show, and he's definitely one of those. So check him out. Ballistic Book Services.
Ballistic Book Services.
Ballistic.
He did J.R. Hanley's logo for Sci-Fi Shenanigans too.
I think we should use Christie's description in live chat for a call to action.
I think that was fantastic.
I think it actually would work in an actual.
Read it. I'm going to read it.
Read it.
This is the thing. Sweats profusely. I mean, if you're not doing anything, like maybe you could buy my book or whatever. Like if you wanted, you don't have to, but I thought it would be cool. Or like whatever, runs away. I love that.
For the right genre, that would probably actually sell.
I kind of want that on a T-shirt, to be honest with you.
Oh yeah.
We should really long, but still.
We'll see if we can fit that on and maybe bring it to the Keystroke Medium dinner.
There you go.
The front of the shirt says, "Ask me about my ad copy," and the back of the Guy Anthony DeMarco brought up looking at his blurb for one of the books he's involved in, which is Solar Singularity. If you guys don't have another example, I'd like to look at this one real quick. If you guys don't.
I pulled it up and then I'll
pull it up.
Okay, so it says a novel set in the universe of Interface Zero from Gunmetal Games. So I'm guessing this is a tie-in novel. Dubbed Interface Zero by those who created it, the Trindle Access Processor, or TAP, downloads the global data net and hyper-reality directly into the minds of billions of users across the solar system, bringing the world an unparalleled level of interconnectivity and danger. Malware plagues the deep, and hackers manipulate the Trindle Access Processor to upload malicious viruses, to steal secrets, and even the identities of the unwary. And that is only the beginning. In 2088, a massive solar flare disrupts Earth's satellite network, leaving the world in chaos as all taps malfunction simultaneously. Hyper reality overlays are indistinguishable from the physical world, and global riots make the whole world a war zone. Amidst the madness, two AIs go to war, using humanity as their pawns. As their pawns.
Dun dun dun.
So I think that's a really good example.
Pretty good.
I'm sorry. Hey, Guy, I noticed you're one of the authors. Hey, Guy. Is this the Interface Zero that they did for Savage Worlds from Pinnacle Entertainment Group? Just type in the chat there, buddy, and I'll look for it. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I just had to know that because that sounds so familiar to me.
I think this is a really good example of a plot-based blurb, like you were talking about. So we don't have any of the characters. We don't know who the antagonist or the protagonist. Well, actually, the antagonist is probably the AIs, but have no idea who the protagonist is. Don't know what's at stake for the protagonist. So I'm guessing it's a some type of. If you played the game, then it would make more sense to you. But I really like that that blurb because it kind of gives you a rundown of what's necessary to know going into the book. Granted, I think that it's kind of like, Scott, what we were talking about with the Warcraft novel that I read the other day.
Oh yeah, that's a good example.
And so basically reading this description, it doesn't really, I don't have any knowledge of what to expect from the book, but I'm guessing that if you had played the games, you would have some better knowledge.
Yeah.
I think it kind of plays off a knowledge of they're kind of figuring only fans of the games are going to be immediately drawn to this.
Well, but that being said, like just the plot point of like the hyper reality, like becoming kind of reality at the same time because of that's kind of a cool concept. You'd be interested in reading. Yeah. So
I guess it was a finalist for the Scribe Award at Comic-Con. So cool.
Yeah, that's very neat. So what I was going to say about this is only relevant because of it's a game tie-in book, but the Warcraft book I read called Dawn of the Aspects is a tie-in book to WoW, World of Warcraft, and it has to do with the creation of the 5 dragon aspects that are in the game. And Scott and I had a really big conversation about
we would have gotten totally different things out of this book because I'm not as familiar with it as you are.
Right. So like a lot of books that I like are very dialogue centric, very character centric, and dialogue heavy. Right. Well, there are some books out there that are extremely narrative heavy. Well, the way that the structure of this book was, you have a dragon from the past or from the present who is basically reliving events from the past through the eyes of a different dragon. And that's a lot of the narrative of the book. Well, it is, but the way that he did it is, it's like they always say, your biggest thing is you want your characters to act. You want your characters to make decisions and do things, right? Well, this character is literally basically watching a movie of the past through another dragon's eyes. He can't make any decisions. He can't force the dragon to do anything. He's just basically reliving the past and learning about it. And there's not a lot of conversation because he's watching it. So
he's
it's
essentially
just
the narrator. I mean, he's just
And so I read this book and it was interesting to me because I've played Warcraft a lot. And so I know, like, when they're looking at this certain point and they describe this certain point in the book, I've been there in game, so that's cool to me. Or I know the history of this character, so that's cool to me. But not having, if I hadn't played the game at all and I had no like relevance to anything what's going on in the book, I probably would not have been as intrigued by the book as I was, and I probably actually would have stopped reading it or listening to it, as the case may be, about halfway through, just because there wasn't anything that was keeping me to the book.
Just as a standalone narrative, it wasn't all that gripping. It was just the relationship to the game that made it work for you.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I have kind of an aside question, and it's really just a curiosity thing for me. If a big game franchise, any of them, was to come to you and say, write me a book, which one would you want it to be? MMO, console, anything like that. I don't know if Scott's into games or not.
Yeah, I love them. I love them. It depends on how many coyotes and beavers they had to offer as part of the contract.
But I mean, so assuming you get any deal you want, just what sandbox did you want to play in?
I would.
Curious.
So fantasy wise, I'd probably want to write in WoW because I really, really like WoW. But WoW fans are really they're tough. So
yeah.
The actual idea I did have to write a tie-in to a video game was, have you ever heard of EVE Online?
Yeah, I know
it's basically a science fiction. You fly around in warships and spaceships and stuff.
Right.
But the cool thing about that game is there's only one server. Like most games have multiple servers. Like WoW has like hundreds of servers you can play on. EVE is only one server, and the PvP or player versus player aspect of that game is extremely penalty oriented.
Yeah, I heard it's brutal.
Well, if you die in the game, if you lose a ship or you get potted, which is PODDED, you lose. So in most games, when you gain experience through doing stuff, and that's how you gain levels and whatever. Well, there's no levels in EVE. All the stuff that you learn how to do, or like flying bigger ships, for example, you have to train that in real time. So if a skill set in the game says this will take 14 hours for you to learn it, it takes 14 real hours. And so
sorry,
but it trains in real time. So even if you're not logged into the game, it trains it, right?
Oh, okay.
So like there are some times where like if you want to fly like the biggest shit in the game which is a Titan, it would literally take you like 2 months to train all the skills. Well, if you get potted, you lose some of that. And like, so it's a real big time investment. Anyway, I say all that to say that it's a huge universe, and I would love to write like a kind of like a lit RPG version of that, where you're in the present day playing EVE, but something is happening in EVE that is affecting the real world, and just like bouncing back and forth between the two and doing like a kind of like a car chase in a car, but also in space in the game. That'd be cool, I think.
Yeah, well, lit RPG's hot right now, man. Start making notes. What about you, Scott? You got one you want to play in?
I was too swept away by that. Probably Morrowind would be the one I have to go.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Elder Scrolls setting.
Elder Scrolls, because that's the one I really played extensively enough to feel like I'd have a handle on it. I had some times where I just would play all night and then just go to work the next day. I just skip whole nights of sleep.
Yeah,
I was a little bit younger and dumber at the time, but I could get away with that easier.
I've got two for like an MMO RPG type setting. There's one that I loved playing, and I loved playing it strictly for the setting, and it was called The Secret World. And it's basically it's right up my alley. It's basically a horror conspiracy type setting. And you play somebody who gets indoctrinated into one of 3 secret societies that are dedicated to fighting monsters and evil stuff. And you go to all these different places in the world. You go to Egypt, and it's a lot of fun. It's exactly the kind of setting that I like, and I thought it would just be a hoot to be able to write in that. The other one, though, if we're talking more of a PC console type thing, I've always wanted to write in the Fallout universe.
No, I'm kidding.
Farmtown. My Little Ponies. Friendship is magic. No.
That'd probably sell. No, Fallout would be cool.
Fallout would be a lot of fun.
That would be wicked cool. Yeah.
I think that would be a lot of fun to write.
I haven't really played it, but I've watched.
I know I took us completely off track with that question, but I was just curious because it had just popped into my head when you're talking about games. So anyway. So blurbs.
Call to action.
First of all, who cares if we stay on topic? Like we ever do that ever? We've done that twice.
We were lucky to even find the topic.
Oh, can I talk about the potential Thursday thing? I mean, it's not a really. Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
We should probably do
So,
that.
heads up, Keystroke Mediumites out there in the world. We're going to do a show this Thursday, 8 p.m. Central, just like we did last time. We're going to have, oh crap, I've forgotten all their names.
1,000.
4 guests, and I'm assuming it's just going to be me and Scott. Are you going to be able to make it, Josh, or you got on kid duty?
I actually have a board game geek thing that's happening.
Well,
at
I
my
fully
house.
encourage board gaming at all
I
times.
apologize.
So, no problem.
I'll
So I
be
think it's just going to be me and Scott. We're going to have Casey Ezel, Mark Wandry, and hold on.
Get that list.
I wrote down names. Damn it! Where did I write those names? I can't find my notes. Anyway, here we go.
Christopher
Mark
Wood,
Wandry, Casey Ezel, John Osborne, Christopher Woods. Why, you may ask, are these names important? They are all Dragon Award nominees for the upcoming Dragon Con for books they have written. So we're going to have them on, and we're going to talk about, they're going to give them a chance to tell us about their books and just have shenanigans and carry on and do the things that we normally do. So Thursday night, 8 p.m. Central Time. Join us again if you can. And thank you very much. And I will shut up now.
Don't shut up. That's the whole point of the show. That's why we have microphones.
Yeah,
that's true too.
I think it'd be cool if we. I think a lot of writers would like to know more about our topic tonight, as far as ad copy and book descriptions and stuff like that. We might need to bring some experts on at some point. And
we need to try to get Jennifer Yanez on the show.
Yeah,
Yanez, does she write a lot of them?
She's really good. She actually has a service that she'll write them.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
so she's really good.
I don't know if you remember when we did that Richard Fox survey, but what was the answer for blurbs on Richard Fox? What was that, like 2 or 3?
Yeah, well, he had, and I'm going to butcher the statistics, but it was really high. The buying decision, there was a buying decision part, and then he had like 4 choices, and one of them was made my buying decision based on yada yada yada, and one of them was the book description. It was like 80% or something like that was buying decision for his books, and that was a survey that went out to like 2,000 of his fans and stuff like that. So,
since that's obviously a huge deal for his readers, I figured I'd pick the first book in his series to read the description on. I could pick any, but it's usually the one that he's always pushing because it's the first one in the series. So that's the one I always see pop up on Facebook as an ad. So the Ember War, which is the first book in this Ember War saga, is the Earth is doomed. Humanity has a chance. In the near future, an alien probe arrives on Earth with a pivotal mission: determine if humanity has what it takes to survive the impending invasion by a merciless armada. The probe discovers Mark Ibarra, a young inventor who holds the key.
Editors do hold the key. We all know this. Lauren can attest to that.
They're also very sarcastic and snarky. A young inventor who holds the key to a daring gambit that could save a fraction of Earth's population. Humanity's only chance lies with Ibarra's ability to keep a terrible secret and engineer the planet down the narrow path to survival. Earth will need a fleet, one with a hidden purpose, one strong enough to fight a battle against annihilation. The Ember War is the first installment in an epic military science fiction series. If you like a Hymn Before Battle by John Ringo and The Last Starship by Von Heppner, then you'll love this explosive adventure with constant thrills and high stakes from cover to cover. That's a very, very extremely brief description of the Ember War. And if you take those 3 paragraphs, I mean, it's probably not 30, 40, 50 words. And it doesn't give anything away. And it pretty much covers the first 10% of the book.
Right. It's a hook. It's basically a hook.
It's the hook.
It is a hook.
The 9-book series.
Right.
In this 3 spin-off series.
So I mean, and I'll just say that obviously that book description has worked because he sold a shit ton of books, right? So I've had a couple authors that have sent me books that are like, here, this is what the book's about, and this is the blurb, and I read the blurb, and it takes me 15 minutes to read the blurb because it's like 9 paragraphs, and it's not a blurb, it's a book summary.
I think that brings up a good point. So blurb should be very easy to read.
Yeah.
Right.
Because any resistance at all they're gonna eject. It's like if you have to look at the book cover and you go, what is that? What genre? And you're done.
Yeah.
You've like at work, I get a lot of emails. Like I'll come to work after 3 days off and I have like 500 emails. And so what I tell my people is if you write me an email and you're not my boss, then you have 15 seconds. And if I'm not interested in 15 seconds, then I'm not reading your email. And it's probably less than that for a book blurb.
Yep.
So it's got to be good. It's got to be your best writing, I think.
No, I think that's a really good way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah. Just like the first part of your book. Why are you going to like I've heard at conferences, people talk about writers who say, well, it really, my book really picks up in chapter 3. Well, like nobody's going to read chapter 3.
Your book needs to pick up in like page 3.
I mean, yeah.
Well, and Christy says when reading a blurb, you shouldn't have to think about it, which is absolutely true. When
you put reading a blurb, facts in it, and you put all kinds of detail and 5 characters, and 2 continents and a timeline and homework.
No, it needs to be as engaging and as it needs to have its own small slice of escapism that relates to the main story. You know what I'm saying? It needs to suck you in and keep you there.
I can't remember which author. I want to say that it was Rick, and I want to say that it was this for this book. But if I'm wrong, don't quote me on it. But Rick Partlow posted a blurb in the Keystroke Medium Facebook group probably a month ago or so, and he was asking for thoughts and critiques, and overwhelmingly people said that it was too long. I thought it was too long. It was just like a big wallow text, right? And he has so much going on in the blurb that you don't really know kind of where to start. And I think this is the book that I'm thinking of, Conflagration. And I'm looking at the blurb now, and he took all the notes that he got from this post, and I think made a really good blurb out of the criticisms that he got off of the group reading. And so this is, I wish I could find, I want to read the other one, but I can't find it right now. The blurb that's on Amazon is this. It's the end of everything, and the greatest heroes of the Commonwealth are gathered in the breach for one last fight. The transformation virus rages through human space like a wildfire, changing ordinary men and women into psionic demigods bent on destruction and conquest. The government has fallen, the military is helpless, and the fate of humanity rests in the hands of a collection of unlikely survivors. Sandy Holiday, disgraced war hero; Kara McIntyre, cold and calculating master spy; Randall Monroe, corporate mercenary; and Caleb Mitchell, the deadliest man alive. Together, they make a stand against the darkness, but will their only hope for victory be risking the destruction of all they hold dear? Discover the destiny of humanity in Volume 2 of the devastating Psy-War series.
I think that's a solid blurb, man.
It is a very good words.
It's got a lot of emotion words. It's a solid blurb. And I think what's interesting to note here, and man, I wish I could find that original post that he made. I don't even know if he's still watching, because he was watching earlier, but I haven't seen a post, so he might not be watching anymore. But with this blurb here, with his original blurb, I remember that. Oh yeah, okay, sure.
There he is.
With his original blurb, he had like every character had their own paragraph, right? So he had basically 4 paragraphs for all the main characters, which is a huge wall of text when you talk about reading a blurb, and then you want to pull the reader in as quickly as possible. If the reader's reading 4 paragraphs of characters, they may get bored with that and move on to the next one. Well, here we have the hook right at the beginning. It's the end of everything, and the greatest heroes of the Commonwealth are gathered into the breach for one last fight. So like that gives the reader everything he needs to know. And then down to the last paragraph, then he still can put in, yes, this is going to be a basically a what's the word I'm looking for? It's an on God, why is that word slipping in my head? It's like Ocean's 11, right? Where you have all these characters that do different things and you bring them together. I don't know why.
Caper.
Ensemble. Yes.
Ensemble.
It's an ensemble cast, and everybody's going to do something different and neat. And he still throws that in the end. But the question, like Guy says, that the question at the end, they make their last stand against the darkness, but will their only hope for victory be the risking the destruction of all I hold dear? Like, that's a really neat hook.
Absolutely.
They're going to give up something to save humanity. That's cool. And so don't ever be afraid. And I say all that to say this: don't ever be afraid to ask for help, especially if you're doing it in the group, because we've had a lot of success with people, asking, "Hey, what do you guys think about this?"
Eyes can just catch stuff.
Yeah, we're pretty.
Absolutely.
Also, you can write different versions. You can write a version for your Amazon. You can write a version for your Facebook ad. You can try different things and kind of different things, different purposes. Try some things out. It's not like you got to wait for a big six publisher to spend 18 months proving your ad. You can just try something. So
that's the beauty of the indie workspace.
Well, and like Rick says he's not good at blurbs, so he needs all the help he can get. Well, none of us. I mean, I honestly think that everybody needs help. Even the people that can write blurbs probably have somebody they go to that says, "Hey, can I run this by you? This sucks. Can you help me?"
Yeah. Unless you're an experienced copywriter, I think blurbs and ad copy are really some of the. I can knock out a 90,000 word novel without too much trouble, but I mean, I spend hours on these stupid things.
Oh yeah.
Well,
in the past, I'd spend literally 5 minutes, and then that's good enough. Publish it, which is a mistake. Don't ever do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's a lot of science, and if you do it enough, what's interesting is if you watch a lot of trailers, like go to YouTube and then just search for movie trailers, not the old ones, but the newer ones. You can get the type of kind of emotional pull that they're having for the audience to come in and watch this movie. And for instance, Avengers Infinity War, they set it up right at the beginning of the trailer. If he snaps his fingers, he can do away with half of the universe. Right. That's the movie right there, right? And then so you kind of build in a little bit of the character pool and a little bit of the plot pool. But if you can get that one hook that this is what it is, this is what you're going to expect from the plot and from a character, or like you're saying earlier, Scott, do a character-driven blurb or a plot-driven blurb. You can kind of meld the two if you want, but you kind of really want to give the reader what they're going to know, what they're going to want to know about the book, which has really made me think. I want to look at the Martian's blurb really quick, because we talked about the Martian a lot last time we were talking about Epic Beginnings. Oh yeah. So here's the blurb for the Martian. Of course, it's nominated as America's best loved novels by PBS's The Great American Read. Okay, so here's the blurb. 6 days ago, astronaut Mark Watney became one of the first people to walk on Mars. Now he's sure he'll be the first person to die there. After a dust storm nearly kills him and forces his crew to evacuate while thinking him dead, Mark finds himself stranded and completely alone with no way to even signal Earth that he's alive. And even if he could get word out, his supplies would be gone before the rescue could arrive. Chances are though, he won't have time to starve to death. The damaged machinery, unforgiving environment, and plain old human error are much more likely to kill him first. But Mark isn't ready to give up yet, drawing on his ingenuity, his engineering skills, and a relentless, dogged refusal to quit. He steadfastly confronts one seemingly insurmountable obstacle after the next, parentheses potatoes. Will his resourcefulness be enough to overcome the impossible odds against him? So
That's like 90% of the book. People are worried about giving away too much. That's literally the whole book.
Yeah. The only thing it doesn't tell you is how he does all that, but still,
exactly.
you know.
But I really liked his first two lines that really set the tone of the book. 6 days ago, astronaut Mott Martin became one of the first people to walk on Mars. Now who's she who'd be the first person to die there? Like, come on, those two hooks right there. See, a lot of people get focused on the call to action. I don't think you should have a call to action. I think you should have a hook like that is so good. People are like, I don't need a call to action. I want to know I want to read more about that because the hook is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, if your hook is strong enough, they won't even read the rest of the blurb. They'll just be like, okay, I'm in. You know?
I'm down. Click.
There was a guy that wrote a thriller not too long ago, and he killed it sales wise with it, and he completely laid it on the hook. And the hook was, would you kill your wife to save your daughter?
Damn.
Do you need to read any more than that? I mean, seriously. I forget the name of the book, but that was the hook. Would you kill your wife to save your daughter?
What's the first we're talking about really interesting hooks. What the hook, Scott? You had a hook the other day that you were talking about when you were talking about the police novel you wanted to write.
Oh yeah, I'm still thinking about that, man.
That was one of the cool, and it's not really a hook; it's an opening scene.
It's
but
more of a concept.
Well, it's kind of a premise concept, yeah.
If you use that as a hook, that would be amazing. I don't know if you want to spoil it or not.
We could make that a hook. I don't know. What do you think, Chuck? Choose.
I think if we were to do the book and we had to write a blurb for it, I think the hook line would be "I was murdered," and then you go from there.
Yeah,
that would work. The context of how that is delivered in the opening or one of the early scenes is what makes it kind of like, oh God, here we go. So we should get that written. That's pretty good.
Well, I'll talk to you after the show. Never mind.
Oh yeah.
Setting up business.
No.
Hey, I just want to point out today on Book Report I have made 0.03 cents today.
Wait, let me do mine and I'll share too. Since we're being honest, I have made. Hold on, it's still scraping. I have made $2.19. Nice.
So I think
all of that from KU, not a single sale.
We need
all
to.
From Patriots.
Yeah, KU's where is that? We need to get. Oh, Jennifer is here. That is Jennifer. She logged under the wrong name. We need to get Jennifer Yanez on here and kind of
definitely. Yeah, she's as good as you guys say. We need to have her on and retouch this topic for sure.
If we'd been planning better, we had a little bit of a side track because this show. The reason we're doing a roundtable tonight, one, we love roundtables.
Indeed,
our guests are like in the most distant far reaches of Alaska having an adventure, and they don't have very good Wi-Fi. So,
I don't know if you guys noticed this or not, but Christy just said, "Josh, you boss." So, like, I think she's saying, "I am the boss." So, if you guys will get on board with this concept of "I am the boss," like that would really help me out a lot.
Yeah,
I already told all the guests for Thursday that I have to get your permission for everything because
I'll treat you like any other boss. Hey, can you get me a new car? My car's broken down. Can you get me a new battery for my radio? Hey, by the way, can I have Wednesday off? Come on, man.
No, you can't have Wednesday off, and you have to do everything like I say.
Well, I'm feeling kind of sick. I might not be here Wednesday.
Oh, here we go. I'm gonna pull out the write-ups.
Yennefer. They're
collectibles, JR.
Is it
Jennifer Yanez?
Jennifer Yanez.
It's just an interesting.
I'm horrible at pronouncing names, but we need to have her on. So consider yourself invited.
We need to do that. Yeah. So yeah, shots fired. And one more. Bosses don't play balls.
First of all, they're action figures and they're collectibles. I don't have any dolls
that we know of.
I can't back that up. Really, I really can't. Well, I hope everybody enjoyed tonight's show. I know we kind of strolled into no man's land there for a while, but I think that's okay. I think it kind of lends to a really good discussion and sometimes talking things out and getting different perspectives on topics, whether they're planned or not, is good for the show and good for the audience. We would have had Autumn
Burt.
Bert and Jasper on the show. They were talking about their fantasy course. If you're looking if you're looking at writing fantasy books, they have some really good material. She's just on a some kind of a
she's always on some
adventure. She's out in the middle of nowhere and has no signal, so we're gonna try to get her back on at a later date. Next week we have Shannon Meyer coming on, and that'll be super fun. And then Craig Schaefer on the 3rd after that. We've got some really good guests on the itinerary. We also nailed down all the people that are going to be in Vegas eating dinner with us, and holy crap, you guys better bring your A game, because it's going to be a good
say 23 or something.
It's going to be about 25, I think 25 or 30, because I'm trying to account for plus ones, because I don't think anybody thought about that.
We got our local celebrity there in Vegas scouting us a good place to eat. So
it's going to be a German restaurant.
To be good.
Schnitzel?
Potato dumplings. Yum. And don't forget, everybody, this coming Thursday, 8 Central, we're going to have an extra show this week with the 4 Dragon Award nominees.
That's going to be a really cool show. I'm excited about that one. And if you guys like the Thursday night show, please let Chuck and Scott know what's up, because if they don't get any love from you guys, then
I'll go to bed, because
we need the feedback.
Wow.
Chuck and Scott really need the love, and so do I, for that matter. So
I need to feel good about myself, so I need a little encouragement.
Oh gosh,
I cry a lot. And
I really love these roundtable shows. I don't care what anybody else says.
Really think about it. It's like we're just sitting in a coffee shop shooting this shit about writing. You know, I mean,
you don't have to worry about abusing.
What's better than that? Not much.
Yeah. That's the original concept. That's where we started. Back to our roots.
Back to our roots.
Yep.
Except now we kind of like aren't nervous when the camera's on. And God, I went back and looked at our first show ever, which coincidentally don't ever do that. And holy crap,
that's not our worst one. The worst one though is when I tried to do the remote from the first Smart Artist I went to.
True.
That wasn't too bad. I remember seeing that.
I don't know if you guys noticed this or not, but I've got a really neat. This is my
shirt.
Check this out. Stark Targaryen, make Westeros great again.
I love that shirt.
Could you get a cooler? Fantastic. My other shirt.
I got to admit though, when I first saw Stark, I thought it was a Tony Stark.
I'd be okay with that too. See, I've got the Hulkbuster Iron Man.
The Hulkbuster doll. That's awesome.
Yeah.
This is my birthday shirt. And I've got another birthday shirt that says not all heroes. What is it? Not all heroes wear capes. Some just hold the doors. And it's a Hodor reference.
Hodor.
This is my Iron Man Hulkbuster suit, which is, before we go, I'm going to tell you a really messed up story.
Can you make it do something? Can you make him do something?
His helmet does this. And then he's got a little light. Okay, but what really makes me mad about this figure? No, this is a great story. Shut up. This is a great story.
Tell me a great story about you.
All right. So
thanks for hanging in there, folks.
First of all, it's not a doll. And second of all, I was severely misled by this action figure collectible. And yes, I'm playing with toys. So this came through on Facebook a couple months back, and it was like this really cool, like the arms moved and fingers closed, and you could take the Iron Man out and put him in, and it was like this really like massive thing. It was like, right now it's on sale for $39.99. You can buy this thing, and I was like, it's mine. Click. Well,
that's copywriting right there.
Little did I know that this Chinese company that was putting everything together, that one that was like really like badass was like $500, and this one was the $39 one.
Whoops.
When I got it in the mail, I was like, what the shit is this? Because it's really, you can't tell. I mean, you probably can't, but it's really cheap plastic. Yeah.
But you know what? It's probably. But are you glad you didn't spend $500?
I am glad I didn't spend $500.
What's this $500 bill? And why do I have a life-size Iron Man replica in my basement that I can't stop playing with?
Yeah. Woo, dodged a bullet on that one.
That was close.
That's why I've got a work credit card that she doesn't know about. Cha-ching!
Cha-ching! Everybody needs a backup credit card or something.
Oh, man. All right. Well, let's get out of here with that. Like I said, we're going to have some really good guests coming up. Shannon Meyer's going to be next week. You don't want to miss that.
I'm really excited about that one.
So Lauren's getting ready to get fired.
Schaefer. I want to talk to her for a while.
It's a $500 collectible, Lauren. She's really pushing the edge here, guys. And I really just
see.
That's okay. Well, I already had to shut JR down for bad mouthing Scrivener. So,
well, really, JR really doesn't know what he's talking about, and half the time I think he's drunk.
True.
So, everybody have a great Monday night.
Because none of us would ever do that.
We wouldn't do that.
The irony of that statement. All right.
That's right. Everybody have a great Monday night. Thanks for coming and hanging out with us. Really appreciate it. Come back next week. We're going to talk about some reading. We're going to talk about some writing, and of course, everything in between. Right here on Keystroke Medium. You guys have a fantastic night. See ya.
Later, folks.
I'll still.